Very excited now to be speaking to the flag bearers of India Inc. 2.0 for this session. And the next generation leaders from the largest conglomerates of Indian businesses which have a legacy of so many decades and even centuries. So first up, I'd like to invite on stage my first guest, Shahwat Goenka, who we all know is the vice chairperson of the RPSG group, which has a 200-year-old legacy, 35 companies in all, in various sectors. And of course, Keshav Reddy is going to be with us on the stage as well. And he is at the forefront of the GVK group. And as his Insta bio really says, that he's built your airports before, and now he's building identities with his new company, which is Equal, which is a digital identity company, and we'll find out more about it during our discussion. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for joining me on this discussion. And the session is titled My Generation, My Rules, Leadership in a Disruptive World. So Shashwat, let me begin by you. Does it really happen in family businesses which have a legacy of 200 years old and successful legacy at that, really my generation, my rules? Or are you given a secret recipe that, we know how we run businesses and this is how you should run too?
Fair. So for us, our business is over 220 years old, right? So I think there is a huge legacy, but for us, I think with legacy comes a huge sense of responsibility. And I think the whole idea for us is how do you grow that legacy and build on that legacy that you have. So I think there's no secret success mantra or anything that you get, but I think this culture of growing that legacy, not just maintaining, but actually adding value to it, is something that's ingrained in us from the time when we are born, I think. So it's just innate in us to kind of try and do a lot better and build on what we have.
So you always knew that you're going to be joining the family business?
So, to be fair, when I was graduating from college, I had that option. And to be fair, mom, dad, my grandparents, no one kind of imposed that this is what you need to do. But I think somewhere I knew that, one, India is where all the action is at. And at that point, this was in 2012, I was very certain that the next century is going to be that of India's. And I think the kind of responsibility you can get in your own business is you get that much faster and at a much younger age than you would if you were working outside. So. Okay.
Keshav, let me bring you in that conversation. So you've been a part of the core business of GVK. You've been building some of the exceptional airports in India. And now you're venturing out to build Equal. And many more startups you've funded as well, especially in the digital ecosystem, in the fintech world as well. Tell me, what is easier and what is more difficult? To grow the businesses in the scale that you're expected to, or to venture out on your own and set up something of your own?
No, thank you, Sakshi, and thank you, everyone here. I think taking a step back, the world when my grandfather started GVK in the 70s was very different, and today is extremely different. Software and technology is at the core of every business today. And in terms of that, if you see 3 decades ago, 10 of the largest companies in the world were oil and gas companies. In the decade after that were all Chinese banks. And then this decade are all software companies. And I think in the last 1-2 months, it's actually had 2 AI companies come into that. So the world is changing, and so should we. So I think family businesses, as we see it, have also evolved quite significantly over the years. So what we have done is we've moved to a family office construct, wherein we build businesses with software at the core of it, but at the exterior of it, they're actually just old school businesses as well. So I think there's a great blend that's going to happen with India, and we just saw that earlier as well, with the new India, right? The energy, the excitement that's there. I think we all are moving towards a new India with even family businesses progressing to being family offices and investing in new businesses.
Absolutely. Shashwat, would you want to add to that? Because, how difficult is it to have family offices also evolve in that way? Because the world is changing at a very rapid pace, and it's very difficult to stay catching up with everything that's changing. So how difficult is it, and how do you do it?
You mentioned we're a 200-year-old business. We are, but I think what we did 200 years ago and what we do today are very different. And I think taking a cue of what Keshav said as well, is the whole idea is you have to continuously keep evolving. And I think earlier it was a generational evolvement. Each generation evolved that business, added new businesses within the fold of the family business. But I think what's changing now is the world is changing every couple of years. And so you have to figure out what is it that you want to be in, and your business model has to be that dynamic to be able to change with the changing expectations.
Okay. So Shashwat, also, of course, this is a very diverse group that you come in from. Of course, it has old age businesses, energy, it has, of course, and all those FMCG businesses. You are now at the forefront of 2Yum as well. IT is evolving with First Source Solutions. Then you have music and entertainment with Saregama as well. And where Caravan has been a very big success for you. So some of the innovations we're already seeing. But are there, do you feel torn when you're pulled in so many directions? 35 businesses in various sectors, or do you keep your focus to some certain segments of the business where you're more passionate about and you have a great vision going forward and taking the next leg of the growth going forward?
So I think, for us, it's a two-pronged strategy. So one is businesses which are either legacy businesses or large businesses within the group. They may be having an old world origination. But the idea is how do you get them set up for success over the next decade or two, right? So when you really look at our electricity generation and distribution business, which was primarily thermal, the idea is how do you move into now renewable sources of energy? How do you kind of move from being, from a purely utility perspective to a consumer-first company, right? And similarly, for all of the businesses, the idea is really how do we convert them to become consumer-first? So whether it's FMCG, whether it's media, whether it's music, entertainment, whether it's retail, whether it's First Source for that matter, we want to touch consumers and make consumers' lives better. And when you really look at India and the world at large, I think the consumer story is still yet to unfold, and we want to be at the forefront of that.
Okay. Keshav, you're building Equal. Tell us more about it, because we do know how hugely successful Aadhaar was, and now you're talking about digital identity. But the moment you talk about digital identity, everybody has this fear that whether my data is protected at all costs or not. We are still at the policy stage. We do not know how protection policies will shape up going forward from here. But and deepfakes is another problem that has now emerged in our senses. How do you think you're going to be building a foolproof product right there?
I think the Aadhaar and the DPI are phenomenal, and they've put India on the map in all respects. What we are doing at Equal is leveraging that to build a nicer, a simpler experience for a consumer. And the purpose of Equal is to power identity for 100 million Indians. And we use the word power because today it's in your hands. Digital has made every Indian very responsible, and the control of that is with your hands. And I think the new DPDP Act is going to be just helping that and pushing those boundaries where consumer with consent will do what he wants. And I think we're the leaders in the world in respect of that as well. We talk about data digitization, but we talk about data democracy, where you use your data for your benefit. So I think it's going to be phenomenal the next decade with data, and Indians are going to be at the center of it. I mean, we just saw earlier, that's the new Bharat today. It's amazing. And the kind of platforms that are there today in the next decade, it's really India's time in order to do all of that.
Okay. Shashwat, you're also passionate about cricket, and we do know that you own the Lucknow Super Giants, and it was the most expensive purchase in terms of IPL. Tell me, how do you foresee? Was it like just a passion, passionate acquisition when it comes to cricket, or does it really have the thought process of a business going behind it? Will it really add value to the conglomerate going forward?
So I think this was also a step to move towards becoming more consumer first, right? Entering into sports. And I think when you look at sports today, it is not just a passion for most people, but I think as a business, the economics make phenomenal sense, right? And I think for us, the bid was not a bid which was guided by passion. I think for us at work, we are very dispassionate as far as our likes come. Business is business, right? And I think, so the bid was very much keeping in mind what we believe was the true value of a franchise like Lucknow. And I think it was just the first of many for us. So we've also got, say, for example, a team in the South Africa Premier League as well. We've got Mohan Bagan Super Giants. And for us, sports is going to be a big thrust area, whether you look at it from a franchise perspective or a team perspective, or even if you kind of venture into esports. So we will be looking at the overall gamut of sports as we move forward.
Yeah, so esports is interesting, digital sports, the way it is shaping up. What do you foresee going forward? Is fantasy games something that's on your mind? Is digital sports, how big are you going to be thinking of capturing this market into? What are you thinking?
So I think, like I said, for us, it's still relatively new. We've been in the space for the last 3 years. And I think we strongly believe in that business potential. I think we are still analyzing further, but we are certain that sports is going to be one of the mainstays for the group going forward.
Okay. Keshav, let me ask you, you funded so many digital startups. 6 of them are unicorns as well. But tell me, why is the new generation really focusing on these kind of businesses and not focusing on the old age businesses like energy, infrastructure, all of those? Is there a sense that perhaps those were too regulated, sectors, or perhaps too much of government intervention was there? Is that somewhere on the back of the mind when you're thinking about these?
Of the 111 unicorns in India, 65% are in the regulated space of financial services. So actually, people don't realize that most of the unicorns are actually regulated directly or indirectly. What I think people do is they find a problem statement in India and they build something. And most of these companies are built by first-time entrepreneurs from a small town. They've gone into an IIT or gone somewhere and realized, okay, there's a great potential, and they have nothing to lose. So if you meet any entrepreneur today, they're just phenomenal. They're limitless in their ideas. Anything can be disrupted and can create insane value. So I think when an entrepreneur comes in, and the best thing that we can do, or as a venture capital firm that I run from the family office side, we actually just support them and we say, we will take an exit when you do. And that really builds a lot of trust. So of the 6 unicorns, I think we've been there 6 to 8 years at least in each of them. But we see that, for the best returns for any company, it takes 2 decades. So if you see when SoftBank invested in, Alibaba or Tencent with the Naspers, it took 18 to 20 years. So I think we're also looking at a longer duration where these companies become massive companies over the next few decades.
So when could be the next Alibaba coming in from India, and be that large in its extent?
No, hopefully. I think...
Coming from you.
No, fabulous. I think, we were just talking about it earlier, but of the 10 largest companies in the world today, 2 of them are AI companies, and then 2 of them are pharma companies, right? Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. They've been propelled due to technology, due to finding or drug discovery in a potential area which has insane potential, which is, weight loss. We do that in our pharma services business. We see so much moving towards gene therapy or CRISPR or new age technologies which are going to change the landscape of our health ecosystem. So I think it's super exciting. It's the best time to build in India. It's the best time to fund companies in India because, all our stars are aligned in all true respects.
And you were talking about the Eli Lilly's weight loss drug, which has become the talk of the town right now. Is something like that coming in from you?
No. the Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. But those are phenomenal success stories. You could have never imagined or even had a chance to think that these would be couple $100 billion companies and inching into a $1 trillion company. So, the days have changed, and so do all of us have to. So.
Okay. Tell me, Shashwat, about the challenges that were, faced by previous generation entrepreneurs, and how have the challenges changed in your time? Are things easier for you to do business in India now?
So I think, it's difficult to say the challenges that the previous generation faced, but I think they had, for a large part of their careers, a license Raj, which kind of changed at some point, and there was a flux in terms of how business was to be done. But I think where we are today, I think we are in India's golden age. And I say that with all my heart. I think in Prime Minister Modi, we've got one of the strongest leaders that the world has ever seen, a visionary, and someone with a very strong bias for action, and someone who's able to instill that bias for action in almost every Indian. It is, I think, when you look at a large part of Indian heritage, it was a very pehle aap kind of a heritage, right? And I think he's kind of changed that. And if I can use my Lucknow tagline for that, it's, he's made it a ab apni bari hai. There is no reason to walk with your head, kind of down. You should be proud of who you are. You should believe in yourself, and you should trust yourself and have that courage of conviction to be able to do whatever you think you want to do, right? And I think that's what Keshav was also saying is, out of the over 100 unicorns, and a lot of these out of India have come in the last 3 to 4 years. And India hasn't seen that in the past. So I think with that, I think there is no reason why anybody shouldn't be in business and shouldn't be in business in India. I think there is enough for entrepreneurs to do in India. We have a superbly young demographic, and we have to reap that dividend essentially. And I think the world is yet to see, I think, the India story. So.
Okay, the world is yet to see the India story, but ab apni bari hai, like you said. What about you, Keshav? Do you also feel that the economic landscape, the way it has changed over the last few years for India, has it become more conducive for new age entrepreneurs, or is it more challenging?
I think it's become extremely conducive. There's no doubt about that. Because what has happened is we are at a golden era between geopolitically, where Prime Minister Modi has placed us in the right position, in terms of demographically, that everybody knows, and then economically as well, right? The pace at which we're growing. And also, counterintuitively, it's a zero-sum game globally. China's loss is India's gain. It's so evident, right? The China +1 strategy, so many aspects of companies coming to India, not finding aspects of investing globally. So I think that is going to be the era. So we need to ensure there's good policy which is being done. There needs to be like capital coming in. There needs to be opportunities, and there needs to be transparency of those policies and governance. And I think that will lead India to being a phenomenal nation. And I think we are super excited more than ever to be part of India and its growth story.
Yeah, but there's this one missing link that everybody talks about, that private capex has not picked up. Do you think that there is a change in which new age entrepreneurs are thinking of how to deploy money, how to make their money? Perhaps because we're looking at the stock markets, we're looking at the Bitcoin, we're looking at the financial world, the way they have immediate gratification coming in from, you put that money there, you'll see it grow 10x. But do you think that that is the reason why private capex is suffering?
No, I think private capex has nothing to do with people investing personal capital. Private capex will come. If you see the middle class is becoming so wealthy, and you see that everywhere. You go to a hotel, you take a flight, you go anywhere, right? It's becoming so wealthy that the whole landscape of private capex is going to change in this decade as well. And I think that's already starting to happen. If you see the investments in new energy, you see the investments in other aspects of business, I think that's going to happen very quickly. On software side, of course, it's a very different landscape. It's a lot of foreign capital that comes in, and I think people are investing in people. And I think which is our biggest resource.
Absolutely. So when you talk about people, a lot of corporates are setting different guidelines, different rules for more inclusivity when it comes to women-first policies, maybe transgender inclusion as well. What is your thought process? Are you doing that or such things in your companies as well?
I mean, I'm running a software company right now, so we don't wear jackets, suits. It's a very different landscape. And we're exclusively like... inclusivity is really important for us.
Yeah.
And, if you're, the best leaders that I know are actually ladies.
Yeah.
They are great managers of people, of capital, of resources. And I've seen so many boards that I'm part of that, the people I admire. So I think that's going to change, and you're going to see a lot of inclusion. You're already seeing that at the helm of all large companies as well. So super excited. We always support, and we try to actually hire. If there are two people, and if there's a female who's leading it, we always hire the person there.
Okay. Shashwat, do you want to add to that?
Completely echo his sentiments. And I think for us, we have over 55,000 employees. And today we're at about 45% of them are women. And this story was very different as recently as 7 years ago, right? And I think one thing that I completely echo that Keshav said is, women are by far, I think, better multitaskers, better leaders. They're able to think better, to act better, to do better, right? So I think what's changed is the role of male and female in society. And I think as that's changing and more women are coming into the workforce, you are seeing them taking on more leadership roles. And I think that is going to be a large part of India's success story as well.
Okay, that's a wonderful point. But tell me, from previous generation to now, how has the way you do business changed or is changing? Or you're bringing in change in your companies the way, and you say to your father that, you don't know this, I know this better, I'm going to be doing this way.
If I told my father that, I'm not sure how well that would go on a lighter note. But I think the way we do business is significantly different, right? I think the ways and means of doing business 3 decades ago versus doing business today is very different. Dealings are a lot more transparent. Corporate governance is of paramount importance. Transparency is important. And I think what's also changed is the kind of workforce that you're able to get, where they want to be partners with you in that journey of creating wealth, in that journey of creating equity for themselves. And therefore, the sense of accountability, the sense of responsibility is much higher in them. And I think, so I think a large part of the success that all of us see is because of the people who work with us. And so therefore, it's changed from being, I think, leadership back in the day may have been more top-down, more authoritarian. I think today it's really more about more participative, more collective. And that's what's leading you to do better things and have better outcomes.
Keshav, is there anything that you want to really imbibe from your dad and from your previous generation while you're doing business? Or is there something that you want to really change and you want to usher in?
No, I've been very blessed and grateful from my grandfather's side on both sides, GVK Reddy and TSR Reddy, and my parents, Pinky and Sanjay. I think I've been very lucky and fortunate. There's nothing I would ever change. So in that sense, I think we have to take on the responsibility and be very grateful and build opportunities for us, for the country, for everyone around. So I think that's the only thing
I think you want to take the fitness lessons from your dad more.
My dad is extremely fit. He's doing a triathlon at 60. So
yeah, and are you also as into fitness?
No, not as much as him.
Okay, would you like to at least aspire to be that? I think he's already tried 2 Ironman challenges, right?
That's right. He's already done them. So.
And at this age, at 60.
At this age, that's correct.
And does that make life more difficult for you? And
no,
more
not actually. It's really exciting because I do long distance cycling with him. So we go for 50 to 100 kilometer cycling, at 4:35 in the morning. So it's really enjoyable because we have similar passions. So a lot of fun.
Right. Shashwat, what's your passion? You're not into fitness at all, you told me.
I mean, well, not into it at all in the sense it's not a passion. I do it because I think I should. And I think, like in his case as well, I think Dad is definitely very into fitness as well. He does a 1.5 hour walk every day, 1 hour workout every day. So that's a lot of time that goes into being fit. So definitely something that I do, but it's not my passion. I think for me, surprisingly, one of the things that I love to do is actually cook. And for me, that's a big stress buster. And for us, it's now become a family activity where both Shivika and I do it. And now my daughter's almost 3, and we're starting to get her into it. So it's a fun Sunday activity that all 3 of us...
What's the best meal that you've cooked for your family till date?
You'll have to ask them. But I'd like to think I cook most things well.
So is Sunday lunch on you, like always?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, great to speak to both of you. Many thanks. And thanks a lot, audiences, for being so patient and listening. And looks like, our future is going to be very, very bright. We saw Florina, but flag bearers are definitely taking it way forward. Many, many thanks for being with us for this very special conversation.
Thank you, Sakshi.
All the very best to both of you. Thank you.